This week on Super Neat Show.
Coddiwomple Part 2.
Wonder.
Eagle powers.
I like eagles.
And I like powers.
Welcome to episode 11
of Super Neat Show.
In a world full of 10s, be an 11.
This amp goes up to 11, mate.
Oh, I forgot to turn off the thing.
Oh, dang it.
Shout out to Mom. She left a comment, which y'all should do too.
You should.
It's cool.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, she thought she might add Coddiwomple, which was one of our $5 words the other time, to her vocabulary. And she asked the question, can you Coddiwomple on a bike? Coddiwomple means, do you remember?
To head with great vigor, nowhere in particular.
Basically. So the answer is yes, you can Coddiwomple on a bike, and you can Coddiwomple on a boat, and with a goat, and in the rain, and in the dark, and on a train, and in a car, and in a tree. They are so good, you see.
Dr. Seuss.
Tell me about your mug? Or is that it's like a 3-gallon size.
Yep, so this is large and grande.
Is that a doll's hand on the side, or is that yours?
This is as big as me. They call it child size because you could fit a small child in there. Yeah, I saw it at Target and I just thought, dang, this thing is sweet.
Shout out to Target.
Little Target with big mugs. Tell me about yours, stylish.
Oh, yeah. Mine is like a stainless steel copper thing. And there's actually a really cool story that goes with this.
Good story.
I also got it at Target. Did you search anything on the Googles this week?
I searched some things on the Googles this week. Let's see. So yesterday was Halloween. So naturally I was Googling different Halloween ideas. Costume ideas.
Oh.
And a couple of the ones that didn't make the cut was Brawny Paper Towel Man. I brought a roll of paper towels with me just in case, because you never know.
It's handy to have.
It's good to have a backup costume. Oh, where to get my tune-up done for my car.
Ooh.
Which I did. So
And the answer was?
over there. You're looking at Google items up?
Green eggs and ham.
For Dr. Seuss, ostensible. No, wait, what was it? Coddiwomple.
Coddiwomple. Ostensible is later. Shh, don't tell anyone. Hey, by the way.
It's a secret.
Got a $5 word this week?
How about ostensible? And let's see. I looked it up like 3 times because I wanted to make sure I said it the right way.
What I think it was last night.
Oh, ostensible.
Ostensible or stencilable. It's like a sensible stencil.
Stated or appearing to be true, but not necessarily so.
Have you ever heard an ostensible political comment?
Have I ever not heard an ostensible political comment? Man, that person is so stencilable.
What made you smile this week?
That dance. But also, we had our pancakes and prayer over the weekend.
If y'all didn't go to that, by the way, you missed out. Super big.
It was pretty awesome.
We were talking about maybe trying to do it again at the beginning of December, so
Oh, nice.
keep your calendars tuned to this station.
Hey. It was awesome, though. We went over to Pastor Gina and Kent's house and had just a really nice time of fellowship. Down in pancakes, we had waffles, bacon. Pretty much all the superfoods. So
Shout out to Nikki for flipping that waffle iron like no one's business.
I don't know why that reminded me of that guy from Community. It's like, pop, pop.
Pop, pop.
Did some fellowship together, and then, of course, I had a time of reflection and just getting into the spirit of prayer and asking for great and mighty things. For me, that was good. What about for you?
I smiled a ton this week.
It was a good smiling week.
Yeah, it was. I was like... That looks like more scared. But you get the idea. Friday, we swung by our niece's school carnival.
That's right, man. That was only Friday.
I know, right?
That was
Which
awesome.
it's like, so take, say, the Arizona State Fair and then multiply it by 55, and then you have the Litchfield Elementary School Carnival. It was pretty fun, though. Everyone in costumes. They had a DJ and a dance floor and food trucks. Shout out to, where'd we? Queso Good.
Queso Good. The place is good.
Carne asada. One of the next things that made me smile was Glenn's Eagle Powers costume. Monday, went out off-roading with David from church, so shout out, bro. What's up? Took his lifted Jeep out to Saguaro Lakes area and
That's good for off-roading.
flexed the new suspension. So that was fun. Over only heated once. That's basically... That's why I was going down a bumpy road. Do we got a superhero or super villain? Or what do we call it? Anti-superhero?
Anti-superhero.
Anti-Massacre. Anti-Madagascar. What?
They like to not move it. They like to sit still. So I've been...
We like to...
So I've been reading in 1 Samuel, and so this morning I was reading about Saul's coronation ceremony, where he was crowned king over Israel.
I like to move it.
We like to...
It feels like the power kind of gets a hold of him, and he loses his perspective, and
So he had a great beginning.
a really great beginning,
And then kind of a medium,
and then kind of
and
a
then kind of a...
staggering plummet.
I know, which is weird because he was attractive.
Yeah, I thought attractive people never failed.
Adventure time.
Just look at this guy. Check out the sunken, lifeless eyes. The foul stench of decay. You know what that means?
Means he's evil, I guess.
Well, evil, sure. But mostly, he's unattractive. And unattractive people are desperate. You should haggle with them.
Hey, I want more than just free powers.
Shout out to Adventure Time.
Weirdest show ever.
Here's what he would have looked like, handsome and rugged beforehand.
Ooh.
And then maybe here's what he looked like Adventure Time later.
Is it time for something profound? As mentioned previously, Saturday was pancakes and prayer.
Kind of the thought around it was really just trying to recapture and lean into the wonder of God in, well, kind of just in general, but also more specifically into our prayer life. How does that incorporate into the way that we approach God? There was kind of three main questions that I zeroed in on in that session. And the first question was, do your prayers avail much? And that's really just coming out of James 5:16, where it says the prayer of a righteous man avails much. And, the second question, just rolling straight into it, was, do you get into the Spirit when you pray? And that one comes out of Ephesians 6:18, where Paul encourages the Ephesians to pray at all times in the Spirit. So then we transitioned from those two questions into the third question, which is what we'll hone in on just for a little bit here this morning. Is your heart filled with the wonder of God? And I love sharing this story that Ravi Zacharias shares. When his children were much younger, one was 5 years old, one was 3, and one was 1 year old. And he says, so imagine I go to the 5-year-old and I share this story and I say, I hear a knock at the door. So I get up and walk to the door and I open the door and then a big dragon jumps out. And you see the 5-year-old's eyes kind of get wide. And he starts telling the same story to his 3-year-old. And he says, okay, imagine I get up and I walk to the door and I open the door. And that's enough to make the 3-year-old's eyes get wider with wonder. He says, and then finally he starts sharing the same story with his 1-year-old, and he says, I got up and I walked to the door, and the 1-year-old's eyes get big with wonder just at the ability to walk. Like, whoa! But the takeaway on that is, the older we get, the more it takes to fill our heart with wonder. But the challenge is, worship always begins in wonder. And I love how that story ties in, because I think that gets us into that place of being able to pray in the Spirit, is when we are, again, filled with the wonder of God. So prayer begins in the Spirit, in the wonder of God, as well as worship does. So one of the questions that we focused on just a little bit, and this is what we'll touch on more this morning, is maybe what are some of the ways that we can get ourselves into the Spirit? How can we, again, explore the wonder of God? Leaning into what we call your sacred pathways. And I think you have maybe a couple of thoughts on that. One of my sacred pathways is coffee.
A gentleman by the name of Gary Thomas wrote a book the other day, like 20 years ago, called Sacred Pathways, and kind of defines sacred pathways as spiritual temperaments that God creates in human beings so that we can connect and worship Him in unique ways. And maybe you've been to church and you've heard some people that seem to really resonate with the music and the worship because they really experience God and the Spirit in that way, but they don't necessarily get much out of the sermon. And then on the other side, see, some people, they go and they suffer through the music so that they can get to the meat, which is the Word. And so there's different things, spiritual temperaments, ways that we connect with God. First one is naturalists. These are people who love God best outdoors. These people worship in the midst of God's creation. They celebrate His majesty and discover spiritual truths through nature. That happens to be my top one, and that's why I get out of town at least once a week. Number 2, sensates love God through their senses. These people worship through sensual experiences such as sights like art, sounds, music, smells, and more. Traditionalists love God through religious ritual and symbols. These people worship through traditions and sacraments of the church. They believe structure, repetition, rigidity like weekly liturgy leads to deeper understanding of God and faith. Ascetics love God in solitude and simplicity. These people worship through prayer and quiet time in the absence of all outside noise and distraction. Activists love God through confrontation, fighting for godly principles and values. They worship through their dedication to and participation in God's truth about social and evangelistic causes. Caregivers love God by serving others, by giving of themselves. They may nurse the sick and disabled, adopt a prisoner, donate time at a shelter, etc. Enthusiasts love God through mystery and celebration. These people worship with outward displays of passion and enthusiasm. They love God with gusto. And sometimes you get their praise hand in your face at church. Contemplatives love God through adoration. These people worship by their attentiveness, deep love, and intimacy. They have an active prayer life. Intellectuals love God with their mind, and their hearts are opened up to a new attentiveness when they understand something new about God. These people worship through intense study, apologetics, and intellectual pursuits of their faith. So those are a few of the different things, and maybe even just as I was reading those, you think, wow, yeah, that resonates with me, or that helps me understand my spouse, family member, friend, whoever else, and why they don't get it the same way that I do. Mm-hmm. It's because we're created uniquely. So we'll link a test here that North Point Community Church did who knows how long ago, but it's still online. So
and it's still great.
We'll link it to you, and you can take the test and kind of find out how you're wired. You're weird.
It's every way.
Thanks for tuning in this week.
Leave comments.
It's been great seeing you. You look good.
Yes, you do.
Leave a comment. Let us know what we should name the birds.
Like, subscribe, tell your friends, hide your wife,
and do cartwheels.
Treat yourself to more of Super Neat Show.
Pop.